Hello everyone and welcome to Sum Count and Beyond, the Spreadsheet Source, Session 5. Today we will be learning about the sum family of functions. In the About section in the banner image of our channel, you will see a link to a Google Drive folder that has the spreadsheets from all of the sessions. Each file will have at least 2 tabs, Try It Yourself and Solution. We would encourage you to have your own sheet open or download the file and follow along as we go through the examples together. Before we jump in, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Let's get to it. We are going to cover 4 different sum functions today. Sum, SUMIF, SUMIFS, and SUMPRODUCT. At the most basic level, the sum functions, as the name suggests, allow you to add cells or ranges quickly and easily. Before getting into the sum functions, let's take a look together at the layout of our sheet. In cells A1 to A3, you will see hardcode, formula, and reference in blue, black, and green, respectively. Using font colors to indicate what is in a cell is something that we consider a best practice and is useful to remind yourself and to communicate to others what type of data is in each cell. A cell reference is just one cell that references another. So if we go over to cell A6 and do equals A1, we'll just return the value that's in A1. Okay, onto the worksheet. Cells B2 through G37 are the March sales report for Wando's Widgets, the worldwide winner with widget sales. Column B is the date the sale was made. Column C is the rep who made the sale. Column D is the item sold. Column E is the price per widget. Column F is the number of units sold. And column G is the revenue from the sale. And we know that because column G has all black font, that it is a formula as opposed to a hard-coded value like the rest of the columns. So first, we're going to try the sum function. So let's say you are asked to report on the number of units sold and the revenue for the month of March. If you think back to session 2, you could go through and individually add each cell. So we could do equals F3 plus F4, etc., or we can use the sum function. So go to cell I3 and we want it to read equals sum F3 through F37, and then we'll close our parentheses. Now there's a couple different ways that you can select a cell range. So one is like we just did, where you select one cell and then select another one to complete the range. You could type sum open parentheses F3 colon F37 close parentheses, or you can use a keyboard shortcut, which is Command-Shift down or Control-Shift down on PC. So let's try that right now. So we could do equals sum, and then we'll go over to F3, and then we'll do our Shift Command down, and it drops it all the way to the end of the continuous range. Close our parentheses, hit Enter, and we see 862 in cell I3. Now again, if we go up to our formula bar, we see that the formula is there and not the value 862, but 862 is what shows in the cell, and that is the number of units that Wando's Widgets sold in March. Okay, we're going to do another example here, and this time we're going to look at the sum of the revenue for March. So again, we're going to use our sum function, so equals sum, and then if you're feeling a little bit adventurous, why don't you try to select the range a different way? So in this case, we'll do a Control-Shift down again, and then we'll do that, and we get the revenue for the month of March is $10,430. Now as an alternative, what you could do is select the entire column. So if we do equals sum, and then we go up to the letter here, we can just select the whole column, close our parentheses off. We get the same number, and it's a little bit easier to do. Now, be careful with this because if there's totals within the column, it'll mess up your sum. Okay, so let's say that you want to look at the month-to-date total of sales by day. So you'll see here that our dates are aligned chronologically, and we want to look at the month-to-date. And in order to do that, we're going to have to introduce the concept of an absolute cell reference. So with an absolute cell reference, it allows you to keep either a cell or a range fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to do equals, and then we're going to go over to F3. And so now we're in cell F3, and if you hit the F4 key on your keyboard, you will see that a dollar sign appears in front of F and in front of 3. So this means that you are locked in cell F3. Now if you hit the F4 key again, you'll see that there's only a dollar sign in front of the number 3. And that means that only the row is locked. If you hit F4 one more time, you'll see that the dollar sign shifts to be in front of the column letter, F in this case. And that means that the column is fixed. And then if we hit F4 again, it just goes back to normal. Okay, so in cell K3, we're going to do equals, sum, then we're going to select F3 again, and we're going to lock that in. Then we're going to put a colon, and we're going to click F3 again. And you'll see one F3 has the dollar signs, the other F3 does not, and then we close our parentheses off. So now we see that in the first day, first sale, there were 16 widgets sold. Now if we use our friend the fill handle and start dragging this down, the number will get a little bit bigger as we go through the month. And if we pop into the different cells, we'll see that it's always fixed at F3, but then because we dragged it down, it'll go down. So if we go down to the next row, instead of F7, we'll see F8, and then in the next row, we'll see F9. So really handy, especially if you have chronological data that you want to look at a month-to-date view. Okay, so next we're going to try the SUMIF function. And the SUMIF function is very similar to some of the conditionals that we used back in one of the earlier sessions. Now the general setup of the SUMIF formula is equals SUMIF, open parentheses, the range that you want to look at, comma, the condition that range should meet, and then the range that you want to sum. Now, as a best practice, we don't like to use the SUMIF function. We like to use SUMIFs instead, but we're going to teach it to you anyway because that is our job. So let's try SUMIF in cell L3. So we're going to look at the sum of Jim's revenue. So we're going to do equals sum, SUMIF, open parentheses, and we're going to select the range C3 down to C37, and we'll lock that in for good measure. We're going to want our criteria to be Jim, and then we're going to want to sum the revenue. So we'll go over to column G, and we'll do G3 through G37, and again, we'll just lock that in for good measure. And then we'll close our parentheses. So now we'll see that the total number of the dollar value of Jim's sales was $2,195. Now let's format this a little bit because 2195 doesn't look great. And so in order to format this cell, what we can do, we can go up here where you see the word general, and let's flip it to currency. So you have all these different types of formats you can have in each cell. So we're going to flip this to currency. And we see now that we have a dollar sign, some decimal places. If you want to change the decimal places, you can simply go up here right below where it says currency, and we'll decrease our decimal so it shows no decimals. And then we'll also just pop this column, make it a little bit wider. Remember, we can click in between columns L and M to expand the cell open a little bit. Now you'll notice that we did a hard code within the formula, which again, not a best practice, but for illustrative purposes, that's what we did. So instead, let's type Jim right there, and we'll go ahead and make that blue because it is a hard code. And now what we can do is we can go back into our formula, and instead of having Jim in parentheses, we can select cell L4, and we'll lock it in. And so right now we get the same result, which is what we would expect. But now let's say you're in a situation where instead of looking at Jim's sales, you want to look at Kayla's sales. So you can type in Kayla, and then it'll switch to what the revenue that Kayla generated is. So really quick, easy tool, and something that we like to do. Never hard code within a cell. Always have something external that you can reference. Okay, so for another example of SUMIF, let's look at the March second half revenue. And we're gonna, again, avoid hard coding, so let's do 3/16/2022 in cell M4 and hit enter. And we'll make that blue again. And then if we go to M3, we're gonna be using our good friends, the comparison operators. So in cell M3, we want it to say equals SUMIF, open parentheses, and we're going to want to select B3 through B37, and we'll lock it in. Then we're going to do comma, open quote, greater than, equal, close quote, the ampersand sign, which is Shift 7 on your keyboards, and then we're going to select L4, which is M4, where we put the date, and then we are going to sum the range G3 through G37. Close our parentheses there, and so now we see again this cell isn't formatted correctly. So one of the things that we can do, if we have the format that we like already, we can select the cell, so in this case L3, and we can go over here to what's called the Format Painter. And if we click the Format Painter, we can go ahead and select the cell and then format paint what we want, and then click the cell that we want to format, and really quickly and easily it goes ahead and formats it the way the other cell was. So now in M3 we have the sales in the second half of March. And again, because we used a dynamic reference, if we wanted to see everything after greater than or equal to March 10th, we could switch this to 3/10/22. And this number would change, and it would be the value of the sales made after March 10th. Just as a quick check here, 8165 and 8165. So we're all good there. Okay, so next we're going to look at the SUMIFs function. So as we mentioned a little bit earlier, our preference is always to use SUMIFs instead of SUMIF. And now we're going to talk through why. So if we roll back the clock a few minutes, in words, the SUMIF formula is the range you want to look at, the range you want the condition to meet, and then the range that you want to sum. For SUMIFs, the formula in words is the range that you want to sum, then range 1, comma, condition 1, then range 2, comma, condition 2, so on and so forth, and you can continue to add as many ranges and conditions as you'd like. So with that knowledge, any guesses as to why we prefer SUMIFs over SUMIF? If you guess that SUMIFs make it easier to add additional conditions, congratulations, you are correct. If you wrote a SUMIF and then wanted to add additional conditions, you would have to rewrite the full formula. If you use SUMIFs to start, all you would need to do is add additional criteria at the end. Okay, back to the spreadsheet. So we're going to put our formula in column N3, and we want to look at the revenue from Bob's Widget 2 sales. So we'll put Bob in N4, and then we'll put Widget 2 in N5, And let's go ahead, make those blue because they're hard codes. And then in cell N3, we are going to do equals sum ifs, open parentheses. And remember, with sum ifs, we're going to do the sum range first. So we're going to go G3, and we'll do it a little bit differently. We'll go down to G37, just holding shift and clicking the down arrow. Lock that in with F4. So now we're saying we're going to sum this range based on the following criteria. So our first range is going to be sales rep. So let's go ahead and select our range. We'll do C3 through C37. C37. Go ahead and lock that in. You don't have to lock it in. It's just something, if you want to do it, great. If not, that's fine too. And our criteria is going to be N4, which was Bob. Then we're going to look at range 2, which is the item sold. So we're going to go over to D, and we're going to select D3 down to D37. Go ahead and lock that in, comma, N5. We don't have to lock it in. You can if you want. Really comes down to a matter of personal preference. Then we'll close our parentheses there. Again, our formatting is a little bit off, so let's go ahead and use our Format Painter again. And click Format Painter, paint this cell, so now they're all currencies. So what we can see now in cell N3 is that Bob sold widget number 2 that was worth $620 throughout the month. And again, the reason that we always want to use these external cell references is that we can really quickly change it. So let's say you're in a meeting or you're in class and someone wants to know, well, I don't really care about Bob widget 2. I want to know about Jim widget number 1. Well, if that's the case, then we can just quickly change, and we see that Jim sales of widget 1 totaled $360. Okay, for those of you that are still with us and haven't completely fallen asleep, we're going to go ahead and look at sum product next. So sum product, you might guess by the name, allows you to sum the product of multiple ranges. So in this case, we're going to do revenue. And so for sum product, we're going to do equals sum product. We're going to open parentheses. And then revenue is going to be the unit price times the units sold. And so instead of a times symbol, you would just put a comma, and then you'd select your other range, and you'll close the parentheses. So we have sum product, open parentheses, E3 colon E7, comma, F3 colon F7, close parentheses. And let's reformat this. Take our friend the Format Painter. So $1,055. So now if we go to G3 and select down to G7, we have 1055 with our formula. We have 1055 down here in the status bar. So that works. Now the one thing we'll caution on using sum product is that the ranges that you select always need to be the same amount of cells. So if I accidentally did this and instead selected F3 through F8, I would get an error message. So whenever you're using the sum product, always remember to use the same range length. So we'll do a Command or Control Z to undo that. And we'll go ahead click between columns O and P, pop that out. So one other formatting note I would like to add is I like to keep the titles and the numbers below them consistent as far as alignment. So, what we'll go ahead and do here is let's just left align everything. So if we select everything in this area here, and then over here in your ribbon, you can do your different alignments. So if I wanted to right align, I would click right here, but I don't want to right align, so we'll do right here. And so now everything is left aligned. And again, this is more of a personal preference, but I tend and encourage anyone that works with Excel, always line up the numbers with the title or the text with the title as a general best practice. So nice job, everyone. You just learned how to use the sum family of functions in Excel. So the sum functions, while basic, are extremely useful. While you might not use them daily, it is a group of functions that will be used fairly frequently. Just like with the comparison operators, the sum functions can be useful alone or incorporated into larger formulas as well. So to sum everything up, the sum family of functions are extremely useful when trying to add large numbers or ranges of cells. You can count on this session to help you understand how the different sum functions work and for an example of how they can be used with a sample data set. And let's keep taking your spreadsheet knowledge beyond what you thought was possible.